All right. Peace to the family. Uh, Welcome back to the Hodge. I got a lot of love for my videos. I appreciate it. I only made the video to my friends keep asking me they want to see, where I'm going, what I'm doing, why I don't post. So I'm like, all right, I'll put something out there. But in my travels, um, I'm just learning cultures and people, religions, and things of this nature. This is why I say I pretend to be like the Black Indiana Jones sometimes. If I had to, like, put a picture to it, you know what I'm saying? So, like, what got me going to Cambodia was when I was 7 years old. My mom said, I, "I'm from the suburbs in a sense, so." Um, I had white friends, I had black friends, I had Mexican, Chinese, Arab, and I had all of them, everybody. And when I go to all their houses were unique, and it looked like it was old and ancient. It goes like, you know, they had cultures. And so I'm in the backseat of my mom's car, and I said, "Hey, mom, so where are we from?" She was like, "What you mean?" I said, "Well, my Mexican friend, he's from, his ancestors and people from Mexico, and then, everybody has like a, a nationality or whatever." And then I said, "So what are we?" She said, "We're black." I was like, "Well, where's black at on the map?" You know what I'm saying? Like, how do I go to black to see like how black people act? She was like, I was like, "So where is that?" She was like, I said, "So," she was like, "We from Alabama." Didn't make any sense to me. Never made any sense to me. Everybody else is a land connected to a land, and we were like black or Negro or niggas and all this other stuff. So that always bothered me. So as I got older, I've always wondered this. Nobody could ever answer it. Um, so that I can get to the video, I was listening to a guru speak, and he said, if you had $1 billion and if you had $1 billion and all the free time, what would you do with your time? What would get you out of bed? What would get you out of bed? And it was just finding out this whole black paradigm, or what the hell is a black, and just studying cultures and stuff. I that got me out of bed, and playing ball, of course. So this is why I went to Cambodia. When I seen this video, I said, "Oh, this is going to be the first thing on my list to figure this out." And throughout the video, I'm gonna stop it and explain the things I learned while I was in Cambodia, knowing all this information as I'm asking people, and the dots that I've connected, which is going to be surprising. Y'all gonna love it. Thanks for listening. Let's get to the video. This is why I went to Cambodia.
Literature, drama, the whole culture, particularly the religion of all the people of Asia, can be traced directly to the Africans of Asia. India, Japan, China, just to name a few. Even Afro-American history can be traced directly to the Africans of Asia. I know it sounds strange to you, but the world owes a debt to the Africans of Asia. In the following presentation, you'll find out exactly why. Just give me a few seconds. Your ancestors never intended to let you down. In this book, called The Gods of Northern Buddhism, we find a name, the Asian name of the supreme deity of the universe. His name is Sambo. They say when nothing else was, Sambo was the name of the God of the universe to the people of Asia. And there are many places that carry this name. This is a depiction of Sambo. This is not an African statue. This is from Asia. And many places in Asia are called Sambo Judasia, the land of the descendants of Sambo. Various spellings of the word and the name Sambo can be found throughout Asia. Negas, the divine people of Buddhism. This is a 2nd century depiction of Gautama the Buddha being given his first bath by the divine people of Buddhism called Negas, a tribe in Asia called Negas, the divine people of all the people of Asia, symbolized throughout Asia by the serpent or the dragon. That is their symbol. The Nega means serpent or dragon, the snake.
Okay, so it's a good stopping point. So when I got to Cambodia, and we find out that these people, these Asian-looking people, they just migrated there. They're not have no connection to these temples. Africans built these things. Very smart, very wise, like Egyptian knowledge kind of information, which made them, made them unique. So what else did I find out? So what else I found out is when you talk to them, when I went there, I'm talking to the tour guide who spoke really good English. I said, do you know what they call Americans? And she said, no. I said, they call us niggas. I said, can you say niggas? And she says, naga. It's kind of similar to how it's kind of similar to like how we like to say nigga, but like everybody else say nigger, you know what I'm saying? Like it just rolls off the tongue. So this goes on with a lot of different languages. It's same with Thais, and they say ka because they don't say R's or whatever. So like, I guess our native tongue don't like to say R's much, but they call it naga. We call ourselves niggas. The tribe was niggas. They pronounce it nagas. Gets better. Let's go.
Found at the entrance of every temple, the Nega, on the roads, on the hills, in the caves, the symbol of the Asiatic black man, the tribe called the Negas, the divine people. There are cities also throughout Asia that carries this particular name, Nega. It can be seen at all ceremonies dealing with worship of God. From the Nile Valley to the Indus Valley, on tombstones, a symbol of immortality because of the serpent's ability to change his skin is a sign of never dying, and is used throughout the planet Earth, North, South America, Egypt, Asia, Africa, throughout the world. It's the symbol of life after death, the Nega, the serpent. In all ancient cultures, in all ancient religions, the serpent is the symbol, the Nega, the symbol of divinity, of God. The original inhabitants of Southeast Asia was called the Mons, an African tribe. In order to confirm what these people look like, you have to go to the archaeological finds from Davarati, a French archaeological research finding confirming the original inhabitants. There's no depictions preceding these of the original inhabitants of Southeast Asia, the people, the descendants of Sambo, the Asiatic black man. The 7 serpents, or 7 rays, or the negas surrounding his head represent the cosmic forces that afford him protection. He is a divine representation of cosmic forces, and those 7 serpents represent his divine mission. He does not come of his own. He's a manifestation of the cosmos. The serpents, or the nega, represent cosmic forces which is at his command, which represent him as a divinity. He is the manifestation of the universe. That is the symbol of those serpents you see surrounding his head. In essence, the 7 serpents are cosmological, dealing with astrology, astrological representations.
Dealing with astrology. So remember that. Like, remember astrology. Very important. how the sun is positioned, how the stars are positioned. This is important because this is happening all over the world. So to go into it a little bit, all over the world, there's places aligned with the stars. I travel to all these places that are aligned with the stars as much as I can, and I find African in all these places. So if I find African in all these places and their buildings align with the stars, then I want to know the story behind these people who understood this high science. These intelligent people will probably leave clues behind. This is the Indiana Jones kind of thing that I'm playing, right? So as I'm doing this, I'm studying the religion and finding out the religion sometimes has a lot of science-based information in there, and the symbols have science-based. So it's just they will call it high sciences back in the day. My bad on my ramble. Let me get back to it.
Of those forces of the cosmos that he represents. He is a universal monarch, a universal king, which he manifests and he shows evidence of. The black man of Asia, the original inhabitants of Asia. He is a human being of flesh and blood. He comes as a teacher, as a manifestation of God. His teachings are called the Dhamma. He is called the Buddha, the intelligent one, the one who has achieved intelligence, or the genie, the conqueror. He comes to explain the laws of the universe. He comes to confirm that there is, in fact, life after death. When the Buddha appears, he appears as a preacher, and he preaches the Dhamma, that existence is a continual cycle of death and rebirth, and that each person's position and well-being in life is determined by his or her behavior in their previous lives. For example, good deeds may lead to rebirth as a wise and wealthy person or as a being in heaven, and a person's evil deed could lead to rebirth as a poor and sickly person, or even rebirth in hell. He preaches that you reap what you sow. A Buddha also teaches that it's possible to break out of this cycle and gain a kind of perfect peace and happiness by practicing righteousness. They are manifestations of God. According to their prophecies, they promise to prove and make manifest through a Buddha or a Jina life after death before the end of this century. How can you teach a people to know God if he himself does not know God? If you try teaching a Christian that God is also a human being or manifests himself in the form of a human being or makes himself known through a human being, they will say that you're crazy, that you don't believe in God. Meanwhile, they admit that he's a mystery God who is unknown. They teach not to make any likenesses of him, yet they adorn their walls and churches with pictures, images, statues like human beings. They also say he is a spirit that cannot be seen. They cannot see him, yet they believe in him. In order to remove all doubt, the Buddha, the enlightened one, the intelligent one, the genie, the conqueror, decided to make manifest to the world irrefutable evidence. They wanted to prove to a people in the future the manifestation of God, that God manifests himself through human beings, through men. Now, prophecy is irrefutable. A prophecy is a written confirmation of what will happen at a future date. These people, the black people of Asia, predicted or prophesied what they would do 2,500 years into the future. The prophecy states that he would send something from the past and join it with something from the future, something from the material world and join it with something from the spiritual world. The union of both the past and the future worlds and the spiritual and the material worlds would be contained in the revelation of a secret mystic diagram called the Mandela of Two Parts. This is a depiction of the future Buddha who would make this manifest at a point before the end of this century. Now, the scriptures of the world have all prophesied at the end of the age, which we are now entering, the age of Aquarius, we shall see the revelation of that which is secret and the emergence into the light of day of that which has hitherto been concealed and veiled. This, our present age, is that time, the end of the cycle, the beginning of the new age. This book by Ivan van Sertima raises the question of the African presence in early Asia. How did they get to Asia? This is the future Buddha. How did they get to Asia? They were called the Mons. And the wind and the rain in Asia is called the monsoon. This is the key to how they got to Asia. The monsoon wind in April blows from the southwest, and in October it blows from the northeast. The monsoon wind blows from Africa to Asia, and from Asia back to Africa. The wind from April to October blows from the southwest, and from October to April it blows from the northeast. These two trade routes and routes that of travel is the direction of the Mons, the Africans of Asia. They went from Africa to Asia and from Asia to Africa, and they were called the Mons. Like the monsoon, Africa was called Hither India, which India, here I am, come hither, come here where I am. And they would get on the ocean and get in the wind. This is where the phrase, get in the wind, come from your previous life. The Africans of Asia got to Asia by getting in the wind. This is confirmed from the first century. The Greeks knew how they got to Asia. The wafting sailors, they call it the divine ship of salvation. The Mons, when they would arrive in Asia and when they would leave Asia. The Japanese badge of nobility is called a Mon. The monsoon, the monastery, Mani, is identified with the black man of Asia. And the largest statues on the planet Earth located in Asia are depictions of the Buddha, the black man, the Jina.
So I tell people, my friends, this all the time because it's one of the, got me interested in all this stuff. Because when I got to Thailand, a lady, these old ladies, I'm in Chiang Mai. It's like a jewel, one of the best places in the world. And I'm in Chiang Mai, Thailand. I get off the plane, and then these ladies start rubbing on my skin, telling me I look like Buddha. And then I'm like, word, well, let me see what my cousin looked like then. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wanted to see what he looked like. So then they were just saying because the same color. And then if you look at the hair of the Buddhas, they have Bantu knots in their hair, which is an African style knot. When my friends, we had like a little chocolate city going on over there. So I had a friend, she would wear her hair in Bantu knots, and the Thais would recognize it because all the Buddha statues are have the Bantu knots. The oldest statue in Thailand, correct me if I'm wrong, so first of all, correct me if I'm wrong, but, this is just my opinions. The oldest statue in Chiang Mai was was when the country was called Siam. Thailand used to be called Siam. Siam was a black African country at one time, not too far back in the past. Also, the Buddha that was black, he came from India. Later on, I'm gonna tell you why this is important. This video is almost over. I'm gonna show part 1, and I'm gonna show you why Angkor Wat in Cambodia is so important, and I'm gonna help connect some of these dots. And then I have, my little opinions, but I'm gonna make it all make sense. I'm gonna try to make it all make sense.
His hair confirms who he is. This is the largest statue in China and the largest statue on earth depicting the black man. The oldest and largest manifestations of God, like this image of the Buddha in Thailand and Southeast Asia, are representations of the black Africans of Asia. There are no other statues or monuments of antiquity that precede them. They manifest themselves on earth and prove life after death. This from Ceylon or Sri Lanka, showing the Buddha, thousands of years old. They are the largest statues on earth, representing the black people of Asia, or the black man of Asia, the one who comes back from the dead to prove immortality. They do it all the time in all the countries, and they prophesied that they would do it before the end of this century. This is the largest statue in Sri Lanka, the largest statue in China, the largest statue in India, the largest monolithic statue on earth, the genie, the one who comes back from the dead, carved in solid rock 70 feet high. The largest monolithic statue on earth is the black man, and it is not in Africa, but it is in Asia. The Asiatic black man, the manifestation of God who comes back to preach and explain the doctrine of immortality, how to escape the fires of hell. That is his sole purpose. To attack him is to attack the cosmic forces of God. He sits in Western style because he will be born in the West. The people who he will be born among are called the niggas. This is the future Buddha, the one who is to come.
I have an opinion on who this is, by the way.
Prove with irrefutable evidence for those with intelligence that there is no death, that life is eternal. And this evidence of eternal life is put in place by their control after death of the cosmic forces. This is a cave in India showing the one who is to come in the future. All of these statues and monuments are thousands and thousands of years old. The future Buddha, sitting down in Western style. He is known by many names in many religions. To the Christian, he's the Christ. To the Muslims, the Mahdi, the Messiah, the Avatar, Maruk Bull. To the Koreans, the Buddha, the Genie. All different names for the same individual who is to appear now at the end of the age, the beginning of the new cycle. He is also called Maitreya, the future Buddha. In this book, Maitreya, the future Buddha, you can find the prophecy of his return in 2,500 years. This prophecy identifies the time when he is to appear. It states that he will appear in 2,500 years in a tripartite year in the first year of a cycle. He will descend to be reborn, and he will produce a city of silver by transformation. He will change a city which will serve as evidence of who he is. He must produce a city by...
It's Akon. I think it's Akon. Gotta be Akon. He the only nigga we know building a city. Akon, ladies and gentlemen. I did all this traveling to tell y'all Akon might be that dude. Let's keep going.
Transformation. The Buddha was born in 560 BC and died in 480 BC. He received enlightenment at the age of 35, which is 525 BC. This prophecy had to have been made between 525 BC and 480 BC. If you project 2,500 years into the future, it'll come between 1975 and the year 2020. 30, 60, and 90 are tripartite years. 1930 and 1960 is gone. The only tripartite year left is 1990. The first year of a cycle is 1991. In 1991, the future Buddha is to appear. 1991. In Angkor in Southeast Asia, we find the city of the future Buddha, hidden from the outside world for thousands of years and discovered by the French in 1858. It was hidden in the jungle by fig trees. This is the city designated to confirm the future Buddha. This city was hidden because of the banyan tree, a tree that starts in the sky. Birds drop their seeds from the sky on the leaves of existing trees. The branches spread out horizontally and then grows down, covering everything beneath it. The tree is worshipped throughout Asia. It's called the tree of God. It is the only tree that starts in the sky and comes down. Here
I got to touch one of those trees. I got to see what they were talking about, how the tree comes down, the roots, and how it covered a lot of all these ancient things for years. Those Cambodians, the one, I'm about to show you videos of the Cambodians, but these are the ones that let the French know that these temples are over here. And then the French came. I'm assuming it's the French, could be out, who knows by now. But yeah, they got our shit. The French. So.
you see it written that one tree covered 20,000 people. It is the most unusual tree on earth. It's the fig tree, the banyan tree, the tree that hid a 36-mile wide city in the jungle for thousands of years. This is the tree of God. Here it is explained that the tree spreads indefinitely and it is not known to die. It's the tree of immortality. It is the most famous tree in Asia, the banyan tree, the tree of God. This is an artist's depiction of the city of the future Buddha, a city of stone, a stone Bible of the religious teachings of the Africans of Asia. This is the entrance to the temple called Angkor Thom.
I've also been here. The faces are real. All faces of niggas, or black people, or Africans, whatever you want to call us, this week.
An 8-mile perimeter covers the city. This picture shows you how the tree starts in the sky and the roots come down, covering that face which you see. Those are roots from the tree which started in the sky, covering the face on a tower. There are 50 towers in this city with faces of the future Buddha. This is a close-up on the future Buddha's face with the roots which started in the sky and came down to cover it. The fig tree. This is a picture of that particular city, a map showing you the 36-mile perimeter. And there's a 7-mile perimeter around this city of Angkor Thom. This is the city which we will focus on, the Bayonne, the central temple of Angkor Thom. This city is viewed as a Bible, a sermon in stone. As you can see, it was built by men to confirm and serve as evidence, irrefutable evidence, of the future Buddha. That the Africans of Asia who built this here, they knew and wrote the future before it happened, and that the future Buddha would use these stone images of himself, these 50 stone-faced towers, skyscrapers in the sky, stone monuments, a Bible on the walls to confirm his identity, hidden in the jungle for thousands of years. Even though the city was sacked of its riches when it was discovered by the French, it still bears mute testimony to the teachings of the black people, the Africans of Asia. These stone-faced monuments are depictions of the one to come. There are 50 towers, telling you that this one, the future Buddha, who you see here, would be in a tower. The 50 towers representing the 50 states of the United States before they were ever discovered. The lions on the outside also bear testimony, since there are no lions in Asia. The lions came from Africa. These are African lions. This map shows you all the animals of Asia. The lion is not an indigenous animal, the tiger is.
Okay. He's going off on some other stuff. We're going to get back to him. But now, let's go to what else I figured out along my journey, asking these questions. You know, when I was talking to the locals, this is how they sound. This is what they say about who. This is what they say in Cambodia. This is how they're talking. And
what happened to the old Khmers? Did they die or did they just leave? Did they just leave? The old Khmers, the ones that was like my complexion, did they leave or what happened? Did they say what happened to them? Did they die? The old Khmers, that with the woolly hair, the big ones from Khmer, what happened to them? Did they die or did they just leave? The old Khmers. Old Khmers, you said they look like my complexion. What happened to them? Did they leave? They die? They get killed?
They die.
They die.
Yeah, during the Pol Pot War.
Oh, killed in the Pol Pot War.
Yeah, there are a lot of the girls from the China.
Oh.
The China is the white color.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot.
Them the Khmer people have married with the girl of the China.
Ah.
So now the most people are the white color.
Or like
the people are the black color.
right, just a little bit of them, but most of them died.
Yeah, died during the war.
During the war. Wow.
so what war is he talking about? One, this tree, this is the tree that starts from the sky that you're looking at right there. So, I think in the part 2 of this video, no, never mind. Well, I'll show you this. I'll show you this when the part comes in the other video. I just want you to see what's on the ground now, what they're saying now. I want to this video is to let you know that there's like the people on the ground, because I'm trying to have as much evidence as possible to back up my claim, or or just so we can have a really good discussion about this, because I don't have all the answers. I'm open for suggestions. This stuff is still boggles my mind. So, let's keep going.
The Naga, go ahead.
Naga the represent for the religion. For
Religion?
Buddhist religion.
Buddhist religion? And the Buddhists, were they my color too? The Buddhas?
Yeah.
The Buddhas were black?
Yeah, the black.
Right. Okay, good.
Naga is relief from the Buddhist secret of the Buddha.
Yes.
Like the Buddhist religion.
The Buddhist religion, gotcha. The Buddhist religion is older than Hindu or the same?
Hindu the older.
Hindu's a little older?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hindu the first. Yeah.
Right, gotcha. And then Buddha came along.
Yeah.
Buddha came along to help the people. You give people enlightenment, Buddha. Excellent.
So Buddha just means enlightened. So congratulations, we all can be this. he was just the one who was African that brought enlightenment to that region. I will be able to explain this and prove this or even have a discussion about this, but there I have another video showing you how advanced this place was and why this place has. I haven't even showed you why I went here yet, but I think it's gonna get good.
All right, thank you. All right. Say it again. Black. They were black. The old Khmers
the
were
old
black.
Khmer, the black color.
Black color.
Yeah.
Hair like mine, like
Yeah.
woolly.
Yeah. Yeah, some same to you, but big man.
But big. But big. And this is old Khmer right here. And this is Khmer language, right? Khmer, old Khmer.
My language, they call it Sanskrit language.
Sanskrit.
The real name of our country called Cambodia.
Cambodia.
And language called Khmer.
Khmer.
And local people called Khmer.
Right, right. And the Khmer were, the Mon Khmer were the original people that were here.
Original people here.
Do they have any accounts of what those original people look like?
So the have also, they said Mon Khmer is a bit bigger size, and also they have a bit dark color.
Right.
And they have curly hair.
Curly.
Yeah. So bigger size than me. Many documents just said big as German now. Yeah.
Big as Germans?
Yeah, but they have black, a
Right.
bit dark color,
Right.
and curly hair.
And curly hair. Oh.
So I said, let me go holler at these Khmer people, because I like to go see the Africans of all the lands. I want to go say hi. I might want one day I'll go see where the white people hiding their Africans at, because everybody else in the world got Africans. Whole nother story. So I find out, I said, how do I get to go meet these Khmer Africans? The tour guide said, you can go, but there's a lot of landmines on the way to go to where these Khmer people are at, these Africans who have probably way more information about this stuff than of course I do. Or just to hear another side of this amazing history that was written in stone by niggas. Who would have thought?
Oh, cool. I know they came from, they were in Burma, because Burma was also part of Funan at one time. And Thailand as well, too.
Thailand, it used to be Khmer Empire. They just separate country.
Okay, so I got 2 more short videos. Y'all doing really well. Thank you. Thanks for your patience. So I want to show you how amazing Angkor Wat is. So this is why this place is special. He's going to describe to you this place. I went twice. I have a video of me somewhere of me in Cambodia. This is probably one of the most amazing places I've ever been, cause it defies under it. Like, it's like the pyramids. It doesn't belong there. And this guy has a good example explaining what the Africans knew, the technology that they had, and what they were able to do with this technology. This guy is shouts out to this guy. But every time all right, man, I'm gonna quit my rant after this. I'm learning every time there is a wonder of the world that is African. And then when you go and look even deeper, I feel like we've been identity theft all over the world. And everybody's taking our stuff for theirs. Don't none of these other cultures have an original religion? From my understanding, could be totally wrong. But what I'm looking at on the ground is that everything African. Shouts out to y'all. Check out my man right here.
To look at the mysterious Angkor Wat temple in Cambodia, which has many strange secrets hidden inside. Historians say it was built about 900 years ago with simple tools. But by the end of this video, I think you will agree with me that this is not true at all. You may have already known that this is the largest religious monument in the world. But how big is this temple? The temple stretches more than 400 acres. That is more than 3 times the size of the entire Vatican City, or about 300 times the size of an American football field. So you can imagine the size of this temple. Even if we take out all the walking space and empty land, the sheer area covered by stone blocks is at least 10 million square feet. And we're not looking at just a 2-dimensional ground area. We have to look at the volume in 3D because it is made of layers and layers of stone blocks, pillars, ceiling, and towers. The iconic central towers in the middle, which almost look like drill bits. They're still the tallest structures in the city, even after all these years. The central tower is 213 feet tall, and this view is actually printed on the flag of Cambodia. So imagine what would be the sheer volume of rocks needed to build a temple that stretches for 10 million square feet and has a pyramidal height of more than 200 feet. If we calculate the weight of all the sandstone blocks which make up this pyramid, we get about 52 million tons of rock. I have used a calculator to calculate this weight using the density of sandstone. Now, we have already not included the rocks in the foundation. We have not included the millions of stone blocks going many feet deep in the moat and the rocks placed around the moat. And that's already 52 million tons of rock. Now, what I'm going to do is take only 20% of this number. So this way we know this is a very, very conservative estimate because Angkor Wat is not a true solid pyramid. There are lots of hollow spaces in between. Let's actually take even less than 20%. We'll only take 10 million tons. So this way, we know at least this much of rocks would have been used to build this temple. Okay, so why are we calculating the weight of the stone blocks in this temple? Because archaeologists and historians argue that the entire temple was built in just 37 years. You know the standard theory, people using chisels and hammers to build temples. Now, let's assume that these people worked from sunrise to sunset every day for 37 years. So they worked straight for 12 hours with no breaks. They don't eat. They don't even blink.
See these nagas up there, the snakes? Nagas.
And no rainy days, no war, no festivals for 37 years. That's a total of 162,060 hours. So if you do the math, if you divide the amount of rocks by the number of hours, this is the answer we get. Approximately 60 tons every hour. This means that they would have to cut and place at least 60 tons of rock every hour. This is 1 ton of rock every minute. So for every minute, they have to measure, cut, carve, lift, and place and align 1 ton of rock. This is simply impossible. We cannot accomplish this even today. Even with modern machinery, we have not yet developed the technology to cut, position, and polish 1 ton of rock every minute. That's more than 2,000 pounds of rock every minute, or 1,000 kilograms every minute. But there's something even more bizarre about this temple. There's no rock quarry anywhere nearby. So where did all these rocks come from? Archaeologists have located 2 different quarry sites from which the rocks have been cut and transported. The main sandstone quarry is from Phnom Kulen Mountain, which is about 50 miles away. So today, with modern vehicles, modern equipment, and good roads, imagine the amount of time needed to move 10 million tons from a mountaintop 50 miles away to this location. Remember how ancient builders processed 1 ton every minute? This 1 minute must also include transporting these rocks from 50 miles away. So to put the mainstream theory in a nutshell, this is what happened 900 years ago. Every minute, ancient builders were cutting 1 ton of rock from a hilltop, transported this 1 ton of rock for 50 miles, measured it, cut it, lifted it, and aligned it, polished it, and even carved on this 1 ton block. All this happened within that 1 minute. And
See, the noses are gone. See them beautiful ass lips. It's African. Look at these designs on the thing. I was an engineer in the military. This is very difficult. This is stone. This is not sheetrock or whatever. This is stone with very small carvings that they were able to do. Very difficult. For us to do this would take forever. These are Africans on this wall.
And they were doing this without even blinking for a second every day for 37 years. Do you honestly think this is possible? The standard archaeological theory is very conventional. You take a lot of elephants and bullock carts and a lot of slaves. You cut the rocks from the mountain using primitive tools like chisels and hammers, move them using elephants on land, and put the stones on primitive boats and move them in water, and again use elephants on land and reach the temple location. If this is how they worked 900 years ago, looking at the sheer volume of rocks in the temple, it would have taken many centuries to build Angkor Wat. Now we understand why this temple is printed on the flag of Cambodia, because it's a giant mystery. I've shown you hundreds of ancient temples on my channel, but this temple's architecture is completely unique. It does not resemble any other Hindu temple in India, and it also does not resemble any other temple in Cambodia. It has 5 unique drill bit-shaped towers in the central structure. There are 12 staircases built around them in perfect angles, all leading into the same central chamber. This architecture is not seen anywhere in the world, which indicates that the builders did not copy from anybody. They were absolute original thinkers. And what's even more strange,
That sounds like black people.
none of the future generations even dared to copy Angkor Wat temple. Nobody could even conceive or attempt to build another temple like Angkor Wat. This is why this ancient temple has remained the largest temple forever, right? Today, humans build a new tallest structure every 10 years. Some country builds the new tallest building, and within a few years, another country will build a structure taller than that. But that has not happened to Angkor Wat. It has remained the largest religious monument for at least 900 years. Not only is Angkor Wat designed with grandness and originality, it was also built in alignment with the heavens. The original name of Angkor Wat was Parama Vishnu Loka, which means the sacred world of Lord Vishnu. And the architect made sure he aligned this temple with the heavenly bodies. Every year on a specific day, tens of thousands of tourists from around the world come to the city. This day is called the equinox, where the daytime is exactly equal to the nighttime. All the tourists wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and rush to the temple to see the sunrise. Why? Because this is how the sun rises when you see it from the entrance, and this happens only on this day. How could they have calculated and built it with this incredible astronomical precision? But this is just the tip of the iceberg. The temple is built with so many details about astronomy, we can write an entire book about it. For example, here is the sun god Surya. He is the personification of the sun according to Hinduism. But look below him. You see these guys doing namaste to Surya? Who are these guys? Who depends on the sun in our solar system? The planets, of course. Let's count the number of guys. And you will count 9 planets, including the dwarf planet Pluto. But this is crazy because textbooks say Pluto was discovered only in 1930, less than just a century ago, and Pluto cannot be seen unless you have a high-powered telescope. Even Neptune, which is the 8th planet from the sun, is said to be discovered by Galileo only about 400 years ago. Yet the sun and 9 planets were carved at least 900 years ago in Angkor Wat. How do we explain this? If Angkor Wat was built by people using primitive tools,
Hey, that man look African. All these people look African. But that dude on top look African to me. So.
how did they know about Neptune and Pluto? The entire temple was built as a giant symbol of cosmology. Originally, it had a total of 12 towers, symbolizing the 12 signs of zodiac.
Astrology again. Let's keep going.
But they were destroyed by the people who came later. This is why some of the towers have been flattened. It's sad to see such a beautiful monument face plenty of destruction. So, who built this temple and who tried to destroy it? Archaeologists argue that this temple was built by a king called Suryavarman, who was a Hindu, and after his death, he was immediately succeeded by his own son, who became a Buddhist.
This is important. It lets you know. So these African Indians also was in Cambodia, somehow got connected to the Buddhist understanding religion or so forth. Not sure about any of the dates because nobody can really time this. This is why I need your help. Just, you know, the more black minds we get around this, the better. But I'm curious to see where this goes, and hopefully this catches on and this new normal they keep talking about. We get to write our own history because it's more than just us being slaves. You know what I'm saying?
So the father builds the world's greatest temple, and what does the son do? The son did nothing but destroy all the Hindu carvings carved by his own father and created a few Buddhist carvings. Now, let's take a look at the son's work. Here's the main Buddha statue, supposedly carved by the son. But right away, you realize that this is really bad quality carving. You can see multiple stone blocks, and the stones have not even been joined properly. I refuse to believe that this poor quality work was done by the same builders who built Angkor Wat. Take a look at this pillar. You see how smooth this is? This was built by the original builders. And you may think this pillar is made of one stone. Of course, you don't see any joints.
All of that's very difficult. It's all over the temple. They beautiful, by the way. They're bad.
But that's not true. Look at this line. This is not one block of stone. It is 2 blocks perfectly aligned. In fact, you see pillar after pillar. Tourists wondering about how ancient builders cut these giant stone pillars made of 1 block, while they're all actually made of several stone blocks, but aligned perfectly. This is the level of quality of the original ancient builders. Now, let's go back to the Buddha statue. This is a terrible alignment. You can literally see all the stone blocks, and you sort of have to tolerate this. What's even worse, this is one of the main Buddha statues in the temple. So this is the top quality Buddha they could make. This raises a lot of doubt about what really happened. According to mainstream theory, there's not much difference in timeline. The father made Hindu carvings and the son made Buddhist carvings. And it was the same dynasty. It's not like some barbaric invaders came from somewhere else, captured this site, and made terrible carvings because they did not know how to carve. The son would have had access to the same sculptors and stoneworkers. Yet, why is this Buddha looking so bad? There is something fundamentally wrong with this theory. It seems obvious that the carvings which were done later were created by a primitive group of people, while the original temple was built by a very advanced civilization. It was definitely...
You'll notice around the world that there'll be certain places around the world where it started off super advanced, and then as time goes by, it got worse and worse to where it just, we don't even do it no more. Which, like, in today's time, we start off simple and get better and better, and we kind of perfect things. Back in the day, we don't know what happened. We can speculate. Things was amazing, and then it started going down.
Definitely not built by the same group of people or even their immediate descendants. Many centuries must have passed between these two civilizations. Forget about the quality. Let's look at the size. Here's another structure. This is a Buddhist stupa built by the primitive builders in the site of Angkor Wat. Look at the size of the stupa and compare it with the size of Angkor Wat. It's a lot less than 1% of Angkor Wat's size. Look at how basic it is, and it's falling apart. Not because somebody has destroyed it, it's falling apart because of nature, because it was not built strong enough. This is clear evidence that this stupa was not built by the same civilization who built the Angkor Wat temple. It was clearly built by a very inferior civilization which came much later in time. This is the logical conclusion because the original construction is simply far superior in terms of size, quality, and construction techniques. So, who really built Angkor Wat? Was it built 900 years ago? Or
Shouts out to them for holding up this African culture. Doesn't really belong to them. I guess it does. I don't want to take nothing from nobody. I'm just trying to figure things out, just like the next man.
Or is it a much older structure? One thing is clear, what we hear from historians is not the full picture. Angkor Wat could not have been built in 37 years using primitive tools. Now it's your turn to tell me how.
Okay, so this is the last one. And so I like to explain how I figured these things out, how I was very interested on the fact that the sun landed on top of this thing, so these people understood astrology and the sun and a lot about the stars. We know the Dogon tribe, the ones that the Dogon tribe understand the stars and planets before the Europeans ever did. So these ancient people knew a lot about, how the earth works and it rotated and moved. And they understood it to a point to where when they were trying to teach the unlearned, that's what they would call it, or the uneducated, because fishermen and, carpenters, they didn't necessarily need to know how to read, but they still needed to know stuff. So what they used to do is put these ancient sciences of astrology and other things in allegories and stories. I was like, how can I prove this? How could they have proved it on those walls in Cambodia? How have they proved it in other things that we can see and go to on land? Like, all we need is a ticket and we can prove some of these things to be true, false, or whatever. I feel like if I can figure it out, then anybody can figure it out. I'm sure when we get better minds around this than mine, then we can have better discussions, So this ties back to why I went to Cambodia, Angkor Wat, the sun landing on top of the Angkor Wat, and how they understood astrology, the equinox, and things of this nature. So I'm sure some people might have already seen this, but I think the video will explain it better than me talking about it and trying to paint a perfect picture. I don't want to do that. It takes too long.
This is the sun. As far back as 10,000 BC, history is abundant with carvings and writings reflecting people's respect and adoration for this object. And it is simple to understand why, as every morning the sun would rise, bringing vision, warmth, and security, saving man from the cold, blind, predator-filled darkness of night. Without it, the cultures understood the crops would not grow and life on the planet would not survive. These realities made the sun the most adored object of all time. Likewise, they were also very aware of the stars. The tracking of the stars allowed them to recognize and anticipate events which occurred over long periods of time, such as eclipses and full moons. They in turn cataloged celestial groups into what we know today as constellations. This is the cross of the zodiac, one of the oldest conceptual images in human history. It reflects the sun as it figuratively passes through the 12 major constellations over the course of a year. It also reflects the 12 months of the year, the 4 seasons, and the solstices and equinoxes. The term zodiac relates to the fact that constellations were anthropomorphized, or personified, as figures or animals. In other words, the early civilizations did not just follow the sun and stars, they personified them with elaborate myths involving their movements and relationships. The sun, with its life-giving and saving qualities, was personified as a representative of the unseen creator or God, God's Son, the light of the world, the savior of humankind. Likewise, the 12 constellations represented places of travel for God's Son, and were identified by names usually representing elements of nature that happened during that period of time. For example, Aquarius, the water bearer, who brings the spring rains. This is Horus. He is the sun god of Egypt of around 3000 BC. He is the sun anthropomorphized, and his life is a series of allegorical myths involving the sun's movement in the sky. From the ancient hieroglyphics in Egypt, we know much about this solar messiah. For instance, Horus, being the sun or the light, had an enemy known as Set, and Set was the personification of the darkness or night. And, metaphorically speaking, every morning Horus would win the battle against Set, while in the evening Set would conquer Horus and send him into the underworld. It is important to note that dark versus light, or good versus evil, is one of the most ubiquitous mythological dualities ever known, and is still expressed on many levels to this day. Broadly speaking, the story of Horus is as follows. Horus was born on December 25th of the Virgin Isis Mary. His birth was accompanied by a star in the east, which, in turn, 3 kings followed to locate and adore the newborn savior. At the age of 12, he was a prodigal child teacher, and at the age of 30, he was baptized by a figure known as Anup, and thus began his ministry. Horus had 12 disciples he traveled about with, performing miracles such as healing the sick and walking on water. Horus was known by many gestural names such as the Truth, the Light, God's Anointed Son, the Good Shepherd, the Lamb of God, and many others. After being betrayed by Typhon, Horus was crucified, buried for 3 days, and thus resurrected. These attributes of Horus, whether original or not, seem to permeate many cultures of the world, for many other gods are found to have the same general mythological structure. Attis of Phrygia, born of the Virgin Nana on December 25th, crucified, placed in a tomb, and after 3 days was resurrected. Krishna of India, born of the Virgin Devaki, with a star in the east signaling his coming. He performed miracles with his disciples, and, upon his death, was resurrected. Dionysius of Greece, born of a virgin on December 25th, was a traveling teacher who performed miracles such as turning water into wine. He was referred to as the King of Kings, God's only begotten Son, the Alpha and Omega, and many others. And, upon his death, he was resurrected. Mithra of Persia, born of a virgin on December 25th, he had 12 disciples and performed miracles, and upon his death was buried for 3 days and thus resurrected. He was also referred to as the Truth, the Light, and many others. Interestingly, the sacred day of worship of Mithra was Sunday. The fact of the matter is, there are numerous saviors from different periods from all over the world which subscribe to these general characteristics. The question remains, why these attributes? Why the virgin birth on December 25th? Why dead for 3 days in the inevitable resurrection? Why 12 disciples or followers? To find out, let's examine the most recent of the solar messiahs. Jesus Christ was born of the Virgin Mary on December 25th in Bethlehem. His birth was announced by a star in the east, which 3 kings or magi followed to locate and adorn the new Savior. He was a child teacher at 12. At the age of 30, he was baptized by John the Baptist, and thus began his ministry. Jesus had 12 disciples, which he traveled about with, performing miracles such as healing the sick, walking on water, raising the dead. He was also known as the King of Kings, the Son of God, the Light of the World, the Alpha and Omega, the Lamb of God, and many, many others. After being betrayed by his disciple Judas and sold for 30 pieces of silver, he was crucified, placed in a tomb, and after 3 days was resurrected and ascended into heaven. First of all, the birth sequence is completely astrological. The star in the east is Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky, which, on December 24th, aligns with the 3 brightest stars in Orion's belt. These 3 bright stars in Orion's belt are called today what they were called in ancient times, the 3 kings. And the 3 kings and the brightest star, Sirius, all point to the place of the sunrise on December 25th. This is why the 3 kings follow the star in the east, in order to locate the sunrise, the birth of the sun. The Virgin Mary is the constellation Virgo, also known as Virgo the Virgin. Virgo in Latin means virgin. Virgo is also referred to as the house of bread, and the representation of Virgo is a virgin holding a sheaf of wheat. This house of bread and its symbol of wheat represents August and September, the time of harvest. In turn, Bethlehem, in fact, literally translates to house of bread. Bethlehem is thus a reference to the constellation Virgo, a place in the sky, not on Earth. There's another very interesting phenomenon that occurs around December 25th, or the winter solstice. From the summer solstice to the winter solstice, the days become shorter and colder. And from the perspective of the northern hemisphere, the sun appears to move south and get smaller and more scarce. The shortening of the days and the expiration of the crops when approaching the winter solstice symbolize the process of death to the ancients. It was the death of the sun. And by December 22nd, the sun's demise was fully realized, for the sun, having moved south continually for 6 months, makes it to its lowest point in the sky. Here a curious thing occurs. The sun stops moving south, at least perceivably, for 3 days. And during this 3-day pause, the sun resides in the vicinity of the Southern Cross, or Crux, constellation. And after this time, on December 25th, the sun moves 1 degree, this time north, foreshadowing longer days, warmth, and spring. And thus it was said, the sun died on the cross, was dead for 3 days, only to be resurrected or born again. This is why Jesus and numerous other sun gods share the crucifixion, 3-day death, and resurrection concept. It is the sun's transition period before it shifts its direction back into the northern hemisphere, bringing spring and thus salvation. However, they did not celebrate the resurrection of the sun until the spring equinox, or Easter. This is because at the spring equinox, the sun officially overpowers the evil darkness, as daytime thereafter becomes longer in duration than the night, and the revitalizing conditions of spring emerge. Now, probably the most obvious of all the astrological symbolism around Jesus regards the 12 disciples. They are simply the 12 constellations of the zodiac, which Jesus, being the sun, travels about with. In fact, the number 12 is replete throughout the Bible. Coming back to the cross of the zodiac, the figurative life of the sun, this was not just an artistic expression or tool to track the sun's movement. It was also a pagan spiritual symbol, the shorthand of which looked like this. This is not a symbol of Christianity. It is a pagan adaptation of the cross of the zodiac. This is why Jesus in early occult art is always shown with his head on the cross, for Jesus is the Son of God, the light of the world, the risen Savior who will come again, as it does every morning, the glory of God who defends against the works of darkness, as he is born again every morning and can be seen coming in the clouds up in heaven with his crown of thorns or sun rays. Now, of the many astronomical metaphors in the Bible, one of the most important has to do with the ages. Throughout the scriptures, there are numerous references to the age. In order to understand this, we need to be familiar with a phenomenon known as the precession of the equinoxes. The ancient Egyptians, along with cultures long before them, recognized that approximately every 2150 years, the sunrise on the morning of the spring equinox would occur in a different sign of the zodiac. This has to do with a slow, angular wobble that the Earth maintains as it rotates on its axis. It is called a precession because the constellations go backwards rather than through the normal yearly cycle. The amount of time it takes for the precession to go through all 12 signs is roughly 25,765 years. This is also called the Great Year, and ancient societies were very aware of this, and they referred to each 2150-year period as an age.
Okay. So that's all the videos. I know that was a lot. I apologize. People always asking me why I go to Cambodia, like very hard to explain. I hope this was not too long. I don't know how long this was. I just want to have the conversation or the dialogue, or like as Black people travel, let's like, I just want to expose people to this so we can find out the truth or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's find out if Akon is that dude. Let me know if you like this kind of information that I find out. It's just my opinion. I can go into it way deeper than this, but y'all can do your own research, and I'll try to answer questions and put out a couple more videos like this of other places that I visit that I can try to make sense of it through video and conversations.